basement door wouldn't open all the way. I hit it with my shoulder again, and it stopped against something soft. Not wood, not furniture, softer. Smoke was already pushing down the stairs behind me. The kitchen above us had flashed hard when we pulled up. The windows blew out. Fire rolled through the attic. Rural property, no hydrants nearby. We were running tanker water and trying to keep the whole place from collapsing before we got a primary search done. I shoved the door harder. Something dragged across the concrete. Then it opened enough for me to squeeze through sideways. My flashlight bounced across shelves, plastic bins, tools hanging from pegboard, normal basement stuff. Then the beam landed on the thing behind the door. At first, I thought it was a mannequin wrapped up in a tarp. And then I realized it was hanging from chains. Human-sized, arms outstretched overhead, no clothes. The skin looked wrong immediately. Too loose in some places and too tight in others. Gray, white, like wet paper. There were seams running down the chest and thighs like somebody had stitched pieces together. I stopped moving. My partner, Ellis, came down behind me and said, "You've got a victim?" I didn't answer right away. I didn't know what to say. The face was smooth. No eyes, no mouth. Just skin pulled tight over a shape underneath. And then I realized there wasn't anything underneath. It was hollow, like a suit. Smoke pushed down the stairwell harder. Heat came with it. Ellis stepped beside me. His flashlight lit it up as well. Neither of us said anything for about 3 seconds. Finally, he muttered, "What the hell is that?" Just then, a crash sounded upstairs. Radio traffic exploded in my ear. Part of the first floor had gone soft near the living room. Captain ordered everybody moving faster on searches. I forced myself to keep going. The basement was bigger than it looked from the outside. The back half had a concrete block wall and old livestock equipment shoved everywhere. There was a smell underneath the smoke that I couldn't place at first. Sweet, rotten. Not decomposition exactly, something chemical mixed with meat. I yelled, "Fire department, call out. We're here to help." Nothing answered. And then my light hit the cage. It sat against the far wall under a workbench. Too small for livestock. Too strong for dogs. Steel bars welded together. A mattress inside. A bucket in the corner. The door hanging open. The padlock was still attached, but the latch had been ripped halfway off the frame. Ellis saw it too. He looked at it and said, "Nope." Just that, quietly. No jokes, no confusion. He crouched near the cage and pointed his light at the concrete. There were scratches, hundreds of them. Deep grooves cut into the floor, leading away from the cage toward another doorway in the basement. They weren't animal scratches. They were parallel lines, finger width, like somebody had dragged both hands while being pulled. The radio crackled again. "Occupants accounted for?" I keyed up. "Negative. Homeowner says one possible missing." Then I remembered the woman outside. When we arrived, she was standing barefoot in the yard holding a garden hose that wasn't connected to anything. Mid-50s maybe, covered in soot but not burned. I asked how many people were inside. She stared at the house too long before answering. Then she said, "I don't know where he went." Not who, not my husband, not my son, just he. Captain asked her again later if anybody else was inside. She started crying before she answered, but there were no tears, just noise. Then she said, "You can't let him out." At that time, I figured it was shock. Now I wasn't so sure. Ellis moved toward the second doorway, and I grabbed his shoulder. "Let's clear the room first." He nodded, but he kept looking at the scratches. They disappeared into the dark doorway. The heat intensified upstairs. Embers started falling through the gaps in the floorboards above us. I swept the room again one more time, and that's when I noticed there were more hanging shapes farther back. Not one skin suit, 3. One adult-sized, one smaller, and one hanging halfway skinned open down the front like a butchered deer. I don't mean fake-looking either. There were tattoos on one of the arms, real ones, blue ink blurred by heat and age. Ellis backed away from them slowly. "Call law enforcement," he said. I already had my radio up, and then something slammed against the far wall in the next room. It was heavy. Concrete dust dropped from the ceiling. Both of us snapped our lights toward the doorway. Nothing there, but the sound had movement behind it. Fast movement. Not fire, not collapse, but footsteps. Bare feet slapping concrete. Ellis shouted, "Fire department, come out now." Silence. And then a single metal clank, like someone touching the cage door. My flashlight shook for the first time all night. We moved toward the doorway together. The beam swept over another room. It was a freezer chest, a work table, hooks hanging from ceiling joists, and a trail of muddy footprints leading to stairs at the far end of the basement. The footsteps looked fresh, not soot-covered, wet, like somebody had come in from outside recently. One set, barefoot. I radioed upstairs again. Possible civilian movement in the basement rear. No answer this time, just static. The fire above us had gotten louder. You could hear the structure changing, nails screaming, wood popping. It was about to go. Ellis checked the stairs with his light. "They go outside," he said. And then he froze. I followed his beam. There was something sitting halfway up the stairs. A dog crate. Door bent outward. Inside was a pile of stained blankets and zip ties. Hundreds of zip ties. Ellis whispered, "Jesus Christ." And then we heard movement again. Not upstairs. Outside the basement door at the top of the stairs we came through. Somebody running across the first floor, fast. Captain yelled over the radio for immediate evac, structure instability, everybody out. Ellis and I started back toward the basement stairs. And then the basement lights came on. Not all of them anymore, just one bulb over the hanging skin suits. Yellow light flooded over them, and they started turning slightly on their chains. I swear one of them had hair attached down the back, like real hair. Smoke rolled across the ceiling, thicker now. Visibility dropped hard. Ellis grabbed my coat. "Move, let's go." We ran for the stairs. Halfway there, I looked back once. Smoke had started to fill the room and obscure our vision, but I swear there was someone standing near the cage, like a silhouette through smoke, tall and thin, not moving. My flashlight caught pale skin for half a second, and then the bulb overhead burst, dark again. We hit the stairs fast. The first floor was almost gone. Heat punched us in the face the second we came up. The kitchen ceiling was sagging, the hallway was burning through. We got outside just before part of the roof collapsed inward. Captain started accountability checks right away. All of us had made it out. I left my helmet on the tailboard while EMS checked my air bottle, and somebody handed me a spare knit cap because it was freezing out. Then the police arrived. I grabbed one and told them what we saw. The cage, the suits, the room downstairs. He looked at the homeowner sitting in the ambulance, and then back at me, and then asked, "Did you see another person?" I said, "Maybe." He didn't answer after that, just walked toward the woman. I watched them talk from across the yard. At one point, the deputy leaned closer and asked her something. She shook her head slowly. Then she looked directly at me for the first time all night. And then smiled. Not relief, not panic, recognition. Like she knew exactly what I'd seen. The fire burned another hour before crews could safely get back into the basement, and by then most of it had collapsed. The sheriff's office sealed the property before sunrise. They never released the details publicly. 3 days later, Ellis called me drunk at 2 in the morning. He said, "You remember the footprints?" I said, "Yeah." He told me deputies found more of them in the yard after the fire. Bare footprints leading away from the house into the woods. No matching prints coming back. Then he said something I still think about every night. "They found animal traps out there," he said. "Big ones." I asked what kind of animal. He stayed quiet too long. And then he said, clearly, they weren't set for animals. A week after that, I drove past the property, off duty. I couldn't help it. The house was gone, just foundation and caution tape. But there was something new near the tree line. A small shed I swear wasn't there before. Fresh wood and a padlock. And hanging from the side of it was my helmet. Black soot still packed into the yellow reflective strips. My last name across the back.